Don't go.
Welcome to the VinnyRoc Podcast.
I took the blows and did it my way.
It's time. The VinnyRoc Podcast.
The VinnyRoc Podcast would like to thank the following sponsors. Core Medical Group. Core Medical Group distinguishes itself as a prominent entity in the healthcare sector, specializing in offering innovative hormone replacement therapy solutions, which stand as a testament to their commitment to advancing healthcare. Core Medical Group values building enduring relationships and ensuring that each interaction is tailored to meet the specific needs of the professionals and institutions they serve. Learn more now at coremedicalgrp.com. GMR Gold. The Bullion Box by GMR Gold stands as the pioneering offering in the precious metals industry, being the first ever monthly subscription service for precious metals. It manifests as a seamless and innovative solution for those keen on diversifying their investment portfolios with precious metals, making the acquisition of gold, silver, platinum, and palladium uncomplicated and straightforward. To learn more and subscribe to Bullion Box, go to gmrgold.com. Everest.com. Everest stands as the paramount independent outdoor marketplace founded by individuals with a relentless passion for the great outdoors. They are driven by a singular mission: to provision goods for every facet of the untamed and boundless wild, be it hunting, fishing, hiking, camping, survival, and more. So step up, immerse yourself in the diverse tapestry of outdoor life, and let Everest be your guide to transcending the ordinary and embracing the extraordinary in the world outside at Everest.com. Modern Gun School. Modern Gun School provides a tailored learning experience allowing you to study on your terms whenever and wherever it's most convenient for you. Their flexible open enrollment policy means you can kickstart your education for a career as a modern gunsmith immediately. Modern Gun School proudly accepts the GI benefit and vocational rehab, emphasizing their commitment to supporting veterans and individuals undergoing vocational rehabilitation. Embark on a journey of discovery and skill enhancement with their accredited program and carve your niche in gunsmithing with Modern Gun School today. To learn more and enroll, go to mgs.edu. Stay Classy Meats. Stay Classy Meats is deeply rooted in a reverence for time-honored traditions and enduring values, working hand in hand with farmers and ranchers who share a mutual respect for these principles. Stay Classy Meats is not just a brand. It's a movement towards real food, a commitment to quality, and a journey to share a piece of Montana's unparalleled meat quality with the world. To place your order, visit stayclassymeats.com.
What's up? Welcome to the VinnyRoc Podcast. I have fought myself on doing these one-on-ones like with myself for a long time, but sometimes I feel like I just need some time to talk about what's going on in my life for y'all, the listener. Obviously, we've been promoting the hell out of this book. It is about my time in the Border Patrol. And we'll go over a few things in the book today. I didn't highlight them. I'm going to kind of just skim through the book and hit a few topics that I think are pretty important and some things I want to talk about. Besides that, before I even get to that, don't forget my sponsors. You got Core Medical Group. Core Medical Group is a hormone replacement therapy company. I've been using them for about 6 years now. On and off, depending on what's going on with my little medical conditions. But the company alone, I send a lot of guys to them. It is life-changing. It has saved a lot of lives. I promise you, if you're male and you have low T, the things that can happen in that is just depression, anxiety, lack of libido, lack of energy. I mean, the list goes on, and why this is one of the areas I focus on when trying to help someone with a well-rounded lifestyle of finding happiness and mental health. One thing I do right away, I check their baseline, and part of that is their blood work. And so I recommend all of you who are listening to this, hit up Core Medical Group. You can hit me directly. I'll send you to my dude. He'll take care of you. But get your blood work done. If you guys get sent through this podcast to them, your blood work will be free. Just let them know I sent you through the VinnyRoc Podcast, okay? So please, guys, if you're curious about it, if you're 25 years, 26 years old and up, and you haven't got your blood work done, or you haven't gotten it done in recent years, I recommend you highly, highly go get that checked. Another one of my sponsors is Everest.com. They're an outdoors, slip my mind, but essentially they're an outdoors website. Anything you can think of outdoors. It's like a trading post. There you go. So a lot of companies that have different items that can be valuable to you from the outdoors, whether it be camping, hunting, fishing, anything really outdoors. If you're an avid outdoorsman, I would go check them out. They're a nice little spot for so you can find anything you really need. I have a box of stuff there. I'm going to do a video about it later. But yes, Everest.com. And if you like this right here, this is something that came from my own mind, that we had a phone call and they created this design for me. And it says, fix myself first. It's something that's very important in the mental health space of working with veterans and law enforcement officers. I always say we have to fix ourselves first before we can help others, which in the medical side, that is called self-aid, then buddy aid. So Everest.com is an advocate of what I do, and as well as I love what they do. And so you guys go check out Everest.com. GMR Gold and Bullion Box. Those are Bullion Box is subscription-based precious metals. You guys can go check them out. There's different levels of that depending on what you can afford. What I find important about GMR Gold and Bullion Box is being able to kind of put money to the side, save it, like have a monetary value. So I put $50 into it. I get my share of gold and silver, whatever it may be, precious coins, metals, and I can just put them away. I can collect them with my kids. They can enjoy it. It doesn't matter. But I put it away. And I know that my money's not going to waste. It's not fluctuating with the economy. It's kind of staying very, very secure in that monetary value. And people say, is it worth it? I think it's worth it. I find it to be worth it. And, I know I'm just making these small investments every month, and they can come out to be pretty significant savings at one point. So you guys go check them out. I do love them. I love the company itself. They've been good to me, and I continue to stay loyal to them. So GMR Gold and Bullion Box, go check them out. I do have 2 treasure chests of gold and silver I need to hide. One of them's in California. I'm waiting for my buddy to actually hide it. The other one's in my backpack. I've been traveling and telling myself I'm going to stop and put it down and hide it and create the coordinates, but I haven't done it yet. So I'll be down in the southern part of Texas, and so I'll have to do that. So be looking out for that. And what other sponsors do I have? You guys already know. Modern Gun School. I can't tell you guys enough about this company. I've had several of my good friends use this and now own gun armor businesses. They're fixing guns and they're selling guns and they're building guns and they're fixing them and all that jazz. They used Modern Gun School. Modern Gun School is a online learning school. You can use your GI Bill, okay? If you're sitting there doing nothing with your GI Bill, go use the damn thing, okay? Go hit up Modern Gun School and you can learn how to be an armor in the comfort of your own home. I promise you that company is well worth it. There's several ones out there, but none, in my opinion, are as good as Modern Gun School. Go check them out, okay? Besides that, Borderline. Look, I wrote this book, and I wrote this book because, I'm doing all these podcasts right now, and I'm doing all these interviews, and I kind of feel like I want to talk about it the way I want to talk about it, because everyone kind of has their agenda on this topic. The extreme left is very open borders. The extreme right is very shut down all borders and screw immigration completely. And both of those are unrealistic, and both of those are emotional responses to the lack of information. And there's a few people that genuinely just want open borders, and then there's a few people that genuinely want to just close all borders. And those are those outliers that I don't think they think on the level of humanity and who we are as a country. And so today I'll kind of try and break down my thought process on this and why this situation really sits in the middle of both of those arguments. Okay. So for those of you who don't know, I was a Border Patrol agent from 2009 to 2015. And I resigned because my personal life was kind of getting a little wild. I started a business with some friends, and it blew up. And we started making a significant amount of money. Enough that I was able to kind of match paychecks at one point. And it felt like I was getting pulled 2 different directions. My time as a Border Patrol agent was incredible. I loved it. And if this opportunity hadn't presented itself in the business side, and for me to actually pivot and using that opportunity to pivot into something that I've been dreaming about, as in Hollywood, I never would have had the chance. So I'm forever indebted to those companies. You guys already know who they are: Article 15 Clothing, Leadsinger's Whiskey, and eventually Range 15, so on and so forth. All those had paved the way for me to get to where I am today as an actor and writer in Hollywood. Okay, so as long as that is established now, we can continue on with this conversation. So my personal life, I was going through my second divorce. I was struggling with trying to be a better father to my kids and be more relevant in their lives. I was very active in obviously affording them a comfortable lifestyle, but that didn't mean I was there during the important times that they either needed me or I wanted to be there, i.e. sports, school accolades, so on and so forth. And so when the business side of things gave me a little bit more freedom to kind of walk away, it was on my head. It was on my mind, so much so that I was kind of thinking, when's the right time to jump, right? Is this business thing going to continue to pay the bills? Because I know business can be up and down. And right now we were facing a lot of ups. Everything was great. And I was going through a custody battle, and I was fighting really hard to get, custodial rights of my kids. And so on top of that, the company that I was in, the Article 15 Clothing and everything was involved in drinking. And so I was getting heavier into drinking just by chance of just being around friends for the first time in a long time that are kind of the veteran community. And so as you guys were kind of experiencing our videos with Article 15 and enjoying those, we were also, I believe, at least from my perspective, we were enjoying our own company and kind of healing ourselves and going through this phase of transition. And so you guys were watching me personally finally find a community of dudes who understood me and that I could kind of be myself around. Up until that point, I hadn't really found that. I was just busy really trying to create a company or trying to be successful in the civilian world through the border patrol or when I was in the prison system as a prison guard. And so on and so forth. So this was actually the first time I was able to like really hang out, bullshit, vent, and be myself around other veterans who were like-minded. And so what you guys saw in those YouTube videos, if you ever saw them, was pure like real camaraderie and joy. And I think that's what the attraction to those videos were. And so I was getting pulled into two different ways. This veteran kind of lifestyle, and it would eventually kind of turn into like a bro vet world that I kind of fell out of love with for a little while. So here we are. I was at the top of my career in the Border Patrol. I was doing awesome shit with the Border Patrol, but I was also struggling in my personal life more than most people ever knew. Most of my friends never even understood what I was struggling with. And so going through my second divorce, I knew that I wanted to, it was beginning the path of that second divorce where I was like, I knew this was coming to an end. I knew I wasn't feeling the same way I was before. I knew that a lot of things were falling apart. And the relationship kind of had to end. We both kind of felt that way. So when that was on the fence and the Border Patrol was getting busier, for me being attached to BORTAC and the business is doing really well, it was kind of, I wasn't wholehearted into that job anymore. And so I started, you guys already know the story if you guys ever seen Real Ones. I was really excited about my daughter's birthday party. And when I got activated during that time and then activated for the two escaped convicts, I was kind of like, fuck, man, I'm going to miss another one of her birthdays. And so, luck would have it, I had a chance to go home. And at that same time, they got more intel on the mission and they ended up pursuing one of the individuals and killing him. And that was the catalyst of me deciding to resign from the Border Patrol. So that's why I left. And I think I need to get to that first so then you guys understand. I didn't leave for any other reasons of not liking the career field. I actually absolutely love it. I didn't leave because I got in trouble. No, I know I was getting in trouble here and there because I was drinking a ton. But as for being a good medic on a tactical team, I did my job until I didn't, right? So it's crazy to go as a Hispanic. Let's address this topic. I'm Hispanic. I'm half Mexican, half Puerto Rican. My mother is Mexican. My father is Puerto Rican. Most of you guys probably know all this already, but I'm just going to reiterate it. But if you've read the book, you'll know that my grandmother came across and to become a legal citizen in a very unorthodox way and illegal. So, which makes the whole story even more interesting. And so I won't spoil that fine detail for you. What I would say is that you guys should go read the book because it'll explain a lot more in detail. But growing up in Los Angeles, California, and being the fourth child, and I was part of a twin set, me and my sister. We are the last two of the family. I had an older sister. Besides my twin sister, who was older than me by 2 minutes, I have an older sister and an older brother. But my brother is 5 years older than me. I was born in 81. So my brother was born in 86 or whatever that is, or 76 or whatever that is. And as my parents decided to try and teach him Spanish and English, he became a very late speaker. And that concerned them, that maybe they can't teach him both languages at once. We'll just stick with English because they're also in the phase of kind of assimilating to America, right? Becoming American. As in my mother's side more so, because my father is Puerto Rican, so he doesn't have that same, they're a U.S. territory, and so he is a citizen by. His mother was a citizen by birth in Puerto Rico. My father was born in the Bronx, New York. So it's not so much my father, but my mother, and wanting the kids to assimilate to other kids around them who speak a lot of English, And so they taught us English. They spoke to themselves in Spanish. And, as I found myself in high school, I really didn't know this was a thing. I didn't know this was something that I would deal with in my life because, when you grew up in LA, everyone spoke English, but as well as there was every race and culture you can think of, Asian, Black, Hispanic, white, and it was just the melting pot. And so I didn't see race as much as I think other people do in other states who are kind of alienated from that diversity, right? And so it was very different in my world because we didn't see race like everyone else did. I think race became a thing later on for us. It wasn't this thing that everyone focused on like they do today. So in our world, my friends were my friends. Black, white, Asian, didn't matter. They're my friends. But when I found myself in the Hispanic circle, and I didn't speak Spanish, I was called the white boy or whitewashed or coconut, brown on the outside, white on the inside, which I found very interesting. And then when I was with my white friends playing baseball, most of my friends in baseball were white for the earlier part of my baseball career. I was the beaner, the Mexican, every other derogatory term you can say. And when I say it's not racist, it wasn't. It was just we made fun of each other for our distinct differences, and it wasn't a blatant disrespect. It was more so how we communicated. It was a joke. No one took offense. These days, you couldn't get away with that kind of stuff. But so to understand, in one group of people, I was not Mexican enough, and in the other group of people, I was too Mexican. And so I didn't let it affect me too much, but it was in the back of my mind. It was a very curious, odd. Let me pause right here. I want to make sure that the camera is still recording. There you have it. As I grew up, I didn't speak much Spanish at all. The only Spanish I spoke was able to order food and, your basics around the house, nothing crazy. My parents spoke Spanish to each other. So, I didn't know sandals was a word. I knew just chanclas, right? There were just certain things that it was just common. My mom, for a long time, still had the accent where she would say share and not chair, and things like that. But, as I think she continued to speak more in English and the languages changed in our household to my parents speaking English to each other, I think we were kind of fully assimilated into being, this is just who we are. So fast forward, when I was in the military, I was in a squad room, and in the book, I talk about this. We were all talking about what our jobs are going to be when we get out. My father's a career firefighter. As far as I can remember, when I was 4, he got the job as a firefighter, but he would come home smelling like smoke, and I was fascinated by it, and I thought it was so fucking awesome, and I thought it was so tough. And so when he'd come home, I'd run to him always to try and hug him and hopefully get a whiff of that like fucking smoke because he just came out of a house fire like just hours prior, right? It's super dope. And I wanted to pursue firefighting just like him. I wanted to be a lot like my father. Baseball wasn't a thing anymore, so next best thing for me was going to be a firefighter. So in that squad room, and I remember everyone's kind of talking, and Sergeant Brim saying what he wants to do after. A couple of the soldiers in there, other privates, other rangers, we're all in there talking, and I said firefighter or a smoke jumper because I kind of thought like it'd be cool to blend the two worlds of jumping out of airplanes and firefighting, and so maybe jumping into the middle of a fire and fighting it sounds fucking dope as fuck. And that was kind of the thought in my head, like maybe I'll do that. And Sergeant Barraza, he mentioned Border Patrol. And up until this point, the only thing I remember from Border Patrol is driving to, Rosarito or Ensenada with my mom and dad. And my dad would do these 50-mile bike rides. And so we'd go about twice a year for a long time. While my dad did these rides, we'd just hang out in the cities, have good food, hang out, go to the beach, throw firecrackers, the whole thing. And on the way back, you would get to see, people waiting up at the fence and just kind of piled up. And my lack of understanding any of that was just like, what the hell's that? My dad's like, oh, they're going to try and make a run for it, when it gets dark, most likely. And the only way I could reference that and really put any kind of context to that was the movie Coming to America. I think it was Coming to America Born in the East LA is what it is with Cheech Marin. And Born in the East LA. Yeah. And so I don't remember the whole thing. I just know he was trying to come across, and I remember the Border Patrol trucks trying to stop him. And so that was my like only thought of what a Border Patrol agent was. Didn't know any better. And so when he mentioned Border Patrol, I was kind of blown away by it because I was like, bro, you're Mexican. I don't understand why you would do that job. And pure blatant ignorance on my part. I just didn't understand. I didn't understand the job. I didn't understand the border. I didn't understand like America has an immigration policy. I didn't know any of that. I was so ignorant to that. And so my ignorant response in my own head was like, that's fucking weird. As he started to talk more about it, he started explaining about the special operations of the Border Patrol and the federal funding, and pretty much you can do the same thing we do over here in country, what we were doing in Afghanistan and Iraq, which was, kill or capture terrorist threats. The Border Patrol was doing the same in country, but not so much with a different ROE, right? Rules of engagement. And so, yeah, man, I found that absolutely fucking dope. But the fire department thing was still in my mind, heavy. And the Border Patrol, I researched the test, and it sounded pretty challenging. And so I remember, what's not in the book is that I applied for that test before getting out of the military. I had a test date in Washington because I was stationed in Fort Lewis, and I decided not to go to it. Just so many things, packing, and I was trying to get one of my soldiers, he went AWOL, and so I was trying to save his fucking career by trying to get him to come back. And so I focused so many on other things that I missed the test date, and I asked them for a retest date, and they said, yeah, just call us when you're ready. So eventually, I got a job at the prison. I got a job at a place called Cintas First, which was like medical sales or some shit, but I only did it for like 30 days. It was good people at the place, but the job wasn't what I wanted to do either way. It was just something to put money in the bank while I try to manage, getting out of the military as an E5, BAH and all that stuff, and then realizing that, holy shit, I need to make some decent amount of money to kind of match that. And so I decided to get into the prison system as a private prison because it was the fastest hiring process at the time, that paid $23 an hour at the time, I believe it was, which is pretty good at the time for just coming out of the military and finding something. And at the same time, I went to school full-time for fire science. And so I was taking shit at one point. I was taking something like, I think it was like 23 hours because I took a full EMT class and full Fire 1 and 2 class at the same time. I piled them up. And then in between those, I did extrication class, I think it was like pretty much using jaws of life and stuff. I did a wildland fire course certification. I did fitness for firefighters course for the CPAT test. I did a long list of just fire science courses working on towards a fire science degree, and my EMT. I did my Fire 1 and 2, my EMT, and then all those other little courses. And so like my goal was like just get fully certified as a firefighter and then boom, go get a job. As I finished the Fire 1 and 2 and I finished the EMT, I never passed the National Registry at the time, so I was kind of struggling getting hired. And working at the prison system, I was like, this sucks. Start doing something different fast. And so I started like really hustling and trying to see what the fuck I'm going to do. So at the same time, I'm waiting to all these certifications for the fire department to go through to finish them and then to test for them. I ended up getting onto a small private prison, a private fire department called, I know it's in Coolidge. Oh, I think they're called Regional Fire. And then as well as I applied back for the Border Patrol. So as I'm fighting a couple fires, one, we got to it in a fully engulfed house, and so we never even got to go into the house. I just watched it burn, and we just kind of protected the other houses around it. I did a couple B calls, did a couple freaking transport calls, and then boom, we have another fire, and it's on I think it's the 8 freeway or the 10. I think it was the 10. And we headed over there as fast as we could, pretty much in between Casa Grande and Coolidge. And we were first there. We pulled up. I get lead on the hose. It was my first time. And I'm just in there, and the guy's behind me is just like, hey, just start spraying everywhere. I'm spraying it. And I'm in the middle of this thing, and it's hot as fuck. And I'm sitting there thinking like, fuck, I thought this would be a lot cooler. Yeah. So I fought that fire. We stopped the fire, right? The bus wasn't completely destroyed. It was pretty bad, but not destroyed. It was a group called Kenna, which I Googled them after that, and they did exist. They were on MTV at one point, and that's it. And then I ended up telling the chief right there, I said, hey, this isn't for me. And I turned in my stuff that day, and I never returned. I gave him my pager. I gave him my jumpsuit, my gear, and I fucking went home. And I knew that I was still missing carrying a gun. I knew I missed, like, I had all this training from the military, and I didn't want to just let it go. So in my heart at that time, I just was ready to keep serving in a different way, in a law enforcement capacity. And so I applied for the Border Patrol. The funny thing is, I landed, I tested for Mesa Fire Department, for I think Casa Grande Fire Department. I think it was Casa Grande, and I know Mesa. No, I think it was Mesa, Gilbert, and then Tucson. I did Mesa's. I don't know if I ever heard back from them after the written test. I did Gilbert's, did the written test, did the oral test, didn't get hired on. The same written test in Gilbert was the same written test in Tucson, so I did that. I did really well on that test. And then I passed the oral exam, and I had number 1 on the PT. And so out of, I think it was however many candidates they had, and they were supposed to be bringing up Tucson, 20 people. I still have the email. I was the number 1 candidate out of 20, out of the 20 hirees potentially. So my scores were through the roof. PT, I had a stupid high CPAT test. CPAT test. I don't even know if it's called that anymore. Whatever it's called. CPAT, that's the fucking machine people breathe out of. I don't know. Either way, whatever that fucking physical fitness test is for the fire department, I had the number 1 test on that. I broke record at the school that one time too. Just, I don't know, no big deal, whatever. At the time, I was in really good shape. Either way. And so all that was happening, and then they go on a hiring freeze. And eventually that hiring freeze lasted over a year, which I had to go test all over again by. So that was fucking frustrating. I applied for the sheriff's department in Pinal County, and I got the job, but I missed the call for my academy date. And that was frustrating. I asked them, how long do I have to wait again? And they said, well, we'll wait for the next hiring. We'll put you into the next hiring. I was like, okay. And then I finally got the call for the Border Patrol. And I failed the Border Patrol's first test. Had to wait 3 months. As I went to go reapply for it, they said they revised their scoring. And my scores now count. And continuing the hiring process. I did the oral exam. That passed that. And then so on and so forth. And it kind of kept going. I took off to drill sergeant school during that time frame. So I had to stop the hiring process because I needed to do the physical and the background. And so once I graduated from drill sergeant school, boom, I got those knocked out and boom, back into the hiring process, and then eventually got the call. So that's kind of like the path to it. As I got there, it was dope as fuck. You guys can read the book, talk about the academy, and it was cool. I'll tell you what I'll jump to is during FTO, I had a little bit of challenges there. You guys can read the book on that. But I guess the most important thing in this whole topic of conversation is that the first time I apprehended illegal immigrants and migrants attempting to come into the country illegally was a woman, a man, and a child. And that was probably the first time I was like hit with, damn, I kind of feel bad. These people are wanting to come into our country because they're seeking refuge or they want better opportunity. And this is no different than my own grandmother. And so I've kind of always been a person with empathy. I remember going to Afghanistan in 2004 and cracking a chem light and watching these kids like eyes glow, just like, what the fuck kind of magic did you just do? And I don't know, that stuck with me. It stuck with me to see these kids who, you know, have way less than we ever had, and they're happy, right? They're comfortable, and you know, we're out there looking for bad dudes. And you crack a chem light and they're terrified because they have no real understanding of what, you know, it's out there in the world outside of their little world. And we've just kind of disrupted that. And for reasons we believe are right, whatever you want to question, but, you know, we had the intel that their father was, you know, involved in bad shit, and we were going there to collect them up, to gather more intel and continue to kind of knock down that terrorist organization. But it doesn't pass me to know that we are in their world, and I'm empathetic towards it all. So that's the position I took. I was like, oh shit. So then these illegals come across and we apprehend them, and watching how hard they work to try and get there, and how scared they were and everything. It was like, fuck, this is a wild ass job. Like it's not a black and white job, what people think. Right. And there's so much more. Right. And so that's just that part. And so that was interesting for me. I think I continue to always, I leaned on the side of really giving a fuck about making sure that they're safe. If I'm going to apprehend them, I'm going to make sure that they're safe. I'm going to make sure that they get the water they need, or the food if they need it, get to the station safely. Transporting women, you have to do all the right things so that you know that they're safe. It's the whole thing about it. We're safeguarding human life. They're in our possession now, and at that point, they're our responsibility. And when I say this, I am not the only one who feels like this. 99% of us who do the job have an empathetic view towards it. I'm sure there's outliers out there who don't. I'm sure there's outliers out there, like in every company, in every job, in every fucking organization. There's these certain people that don't see the world like we do, like humans. And so that's a thing. And I'm not going to deny that it's not a thing. But for the most part, all of us, we want to do our jobs. We want to get our paycheck to take care of our families. And when you're doing this job, it's a very delicate, it's a very complex job, and we have to manage it. Every situation is dictated by the situation. And so there is no preset SOP that is across the board exactly the same. Every situation dictates different actions. And so understanding that is just like any kind of law enforcement job, where when you pull over a car, it could be the worst day ever, and it could be the easiest engagement. So same as us. Okay. And so fast forward, the first time I caught dope, and you guys can read about it in the book. The first time I personally, me and my partner caught dope was a pretty kind of a hairy situation. And that goes to show you that same exact job now has to wear a different hat, where your rules of engagement have now changed. Your threat levels are through the roof, and you potentially might have to engage on someone. Yeah, that's where it goes from one day to the next. All right, and then it gets even deeper. Then you got human trafficking, right? Then you have the cartel, right? Then you have policy, right? Then you have the humanitarian mission that happens daily. And so, like, to try and explain to people and try and diffuse the argument of immigration and actually bring more people together in understanding and having a conversation about this is why I wrote the book. you can't be so emotional about something you know very little about. If you know headline news information about this, that's not enough. If you only know what the media is giving you, you don't know anything. Okay? If you say to me, oh, I have a friend that lives on the border and he says, no. He's giving you his point of view from it. And that itself is sometimes still an exaggeration of some kind of truth. And so it's a very weird, complex space. And if you read the book, okay, you will better understand it. But still, I would encourage you, if you really want to sit here and argue this on social media, if you really want to be someone who stands and says, immigration, this and that, I would still tell you, like, you don't know shit unless you've gone and lived it. Then, if you've lived it and you've seen all the lives involved in it, you can make a very, very educated determination on, man, this is a fucking tough space to conquer. And so, like, I get a lot of people in my interviews, like, they'd say this. They'd say, how would you fix it? And I think that's a very easy question to ask someone who deems himself the subject matter expert of Border Patrol, but I don't deem myself the subject matter expert of immigration. I understand the Border Patrol career field. The immigration stuff, I probably know more than most, but it's a lot deeper than that. It comes down to we are facing policies that make the job challenging. And those policies go up the food chain higher than anyone in the Border Patrol itself. And those policies are put into play because of who and how we vote, right? And I'm not saying vote left, right, nothing. If you want to have that argument, right, people won't be like, rah, rah, rah. Well, here's the argument. President Obama had a pretty strict policy. He had pretty strict policy. He was pretty hard on immigration. And whether you like to admit that or not, he was. And so was Trump. And so there's still a lot of things that have to be addressed, right? There's when people say, well, how would you fix it? I'm like, well, there's no 1+1 answer. It's not like this fucking, here you go. That's done, right? I wouldn't be fucking sitting here. I'd be fucking sitting there making millions and millions because I have the answer to fucking a fucked up immigration system, right? I don't. I have ideas like a lot of us do. And I might have a little bit more thought out ideas since I kind of live in the space of this. I've said it in a blog I wrote that this is a 7-layer cake of answers. This is the recipe of a cake. And if you put too much or too little, you fuck up the whole thing. And I think that's what we've had for a long time is layers of an immigration policy that gets ignored. And I think we scrape off the top the frosting and put new frosting and think it's beautiful again. And it's not. Currently, we have a system that people call an open border, but it's not necessarily an open border. It's kind of an open policy. When you say open border, you're contradicting and you're essentially saying that the border is open as if the Border Patrol agents are not doing their job. That's false. The Border Patrol agents are still apprehending every individual they can. They're still doing their best to find, stop, and mitigate as much illegal crossing that could possibly happen. They still have all the technology that they have currently, there's still a lot of things that are happening. The problem is the policy and after apprehension. So the Border Patrol's job, you should read the fucking book, but the Border Patrol's job is to apprehend individuals who are crossing outside of a port of entry. Port of entry, you can enter and exit legally as long as you have the right paperwork or documentation, right? And you could also go there and say, hey, I'm seeking asylum. You could also go there and say, like, hey, I'm afraid for my life. And they can make a determination of your case and they can do whatever they want at that point. Right? That's the customs agents. They deal with that. The Border Patrol deals with everything outside of a port of entry. And that means anyone crossing any kind of part of the river or the desert or whatever, trying to get into America to abscond or to escape being captured, as well as to circumvent our system, right? So the Border Patrol's job is to try and stop that. Okay. At the same time, when you have that, those are the same people who do that is people who are just trying to come over here and seek opportunity and probably don't know the right way or been manipulated by a trafficking organization to do it the wrong way or been told by family members this is the easiest way to do it, right? So that it's just kind of like passed down information. Then you also have drug traffickers who happen to use those same kind of ways, right? Because they're not going to do it through the POE as much as they do, but there's other ways. So they kind of like power of numbers, throw 20 cars across, see what happens, right? And so they just push a lot of dope through many different ways, from tunnels to just body carriers to vehicles, so on and so forth. Then you have human trafficking. Human trafficking is a very complex one because it's hard to really identify at times. The big argument with like separating kids from their parents, yeah, but there also has to be an investigative situation that happens to identify if those really are their parents. But again, it's so complex and so difficult to explain that to people that are not ready to hear it. The truth, there's a lot of shit that goes down, and we're trying to figure that out as we go. And certain policies in place help, and some certain policies in place don't help, okay? So a Border Patrol agent's job is to try and apprehend all of that, 2,000 miles of border. And they're trying to do it in a way that they can get as many as possible, okay? And so you're not going to get them all. It's just the reality of it. We're not going to get every single one, but they do their best. After apprehension, the Border Patrol processes these individuals. They get their biographical information or whatever the fuck it's called. I think that is it. So you get your face picture taken, right? And you get your fingerprints ran. We identify the country of origin. We identify, their first name, last name. Hopefully they have identification on them. We can validate it. And then from there, if they have any criminal record before that, like if they've come to America before and gotten in fucking trouble and then try to do it again, and we have it based on their fingerprints, we send them back. Absolutely. There's no doubt in our minds. They go fucking back. Okay. But it's everyone else who doesn't have a criminal record. Everyone else who just kind of flies by, and just because they may be murdered or raped and whoever they overseas, and it doesn't show up on our thing, we can't determine that. And so those people still get the pass. Foreign countries, they get a pass. All those people who are seeking asylum from all these different countries, they still get the notice to appear currently. In our current system, currently right now, they get processed, and the Border Patrol hands them off to ICE with the package that they determined is their situation. So they say, hey, I'm here, I'm seeking asylum. You look at them, you're like, all right, you're Chinese, you're African, you're from Middle Eastern, okay, you're from El Salvador, you're from this. Whatever it is, there's a list that says these countries can seek asylum because of the current situation. Whoever's on that list that comes to America illegally still gets the opportunity to get determined whether they are seeking asylum through an immigration judge at a later date. Currently, that later date could be 5 to 10 years. What? That's fucking weird, right? So then they get released. How many people come back? How many people actually come back to that later date? 3% currently right now is the number. Okay, 3% actually come back to that later date for seeking asylum. So what happens? They get released into America and they start to live here. And then they might potentially get a job. They might get someone to sponsor them. They might have a baby. They might get married, right? And they might become citizens through other ways, right? The loophole of our system currently is that they can get into the country and then they can find a way to become citizens in their own way, based on our immigration policy that is already precedent to us, right? So, where we at? Okay, 40 minutes. Battery's looking a little shady. Okay, battery on that. We're doing all right. So, this is what we have. It's 9:52. I got to get out of here in about 1 hour. Okay, boom, boom. Good, 20 minutes. 20 minutes. You got 20 more minutes. And so, the argument goes, it's an open border. It's not. It's an open policy. Sorry, it's currently an open policy. What was the policy before? Okay, when I was in 2009 to 2015 in the state of Texas, in Del Rio sector specifically, all the way up to, I believe, Comstock or maybe Lordsburg. I don't know. It was just the gap of Texas at one point was doing Operation Streamline. This was during the Obama era. That's why I was saying, like, proof in the pudding. He had pretty strict policy at the time. And so what happened is anyone who entered the country illegally was put into jail, whether it be 30 days, 60 days, 6 months to a year, depending on how many times they've attempted. The first time you attempt, 30 days. Second time goes more. I think it's 6 months. Third time, you're going a fucking year. That set a precedence to say, fuck that. You can't come here illegally. You're going to go to jail. That slowed down the traffic significantly. We wouldn't have a massive influx of immigration. You would have maybe 15 bodies one day or whatever it was, right? But it wasn't what you have today. It wasn't the thousands. It wasn't the fucking 9,000 that come in one day and just walk right up to you. No, these were these small pockets of individuals who were genuinely trying to get away, and they were running from us, and we were chasing them down. All right, we were tracking people for fucking 20 miles at times. Okay, That's a different era of immigration. They didn't want to get caught because they wanted to just sneak into the country, literally, because they knew if they got caught, they were going to jail. Currently, it's not the same. You might have a few outliers out there that are just running because they have a criminal record. They know they're going to get caught. If they get caught, we're going to roll their fingers and identify that. The rest of them are walking right up to agents and saying, I'm here. And the agent has to process that. And those ones who are walking up, they know the system. They understand the system. They can circumvent the system by understanding the loopholes in the system by seeking asylum. It's not our job as border patrol agents to identify whether it's legit or not. We just hand it off to the next person to do that job because that's not ours. Okay? So that's what we have right now is, for some reason, currently the system is a little odd, to say the least. And that's the truth. It's a very weird time to see, and I don't understand why it's happening. People have their theories, voting and this and that, blah blah blah. I don't know, and I'm not gonna jump on the board with any of that because I feel like I don't know if it's just rhetoric or if it's real. Who knows? But I can't tell you what it is. But if you want to assume that, go for it. We can't sit in a society and think that we should close borders and never let illegal immigration, let legal immigration come through. I think we have to have a country that continues to uphold that because we're a country that has dignity and boundaries and morals. And in that country, in that same sense, we have to protect our country with homeland security policy, right? And so there's a balance that meets in the middle somewhere. And currently our dial is turned way too fucking far to this open policy, right? Where people can come into the country through the loophole system. And so that is causing a lot of issues. Okay. And what comes with that issue is the fear of these potential threats that come into our country daily. Right. And so, yeah, there should be a thought of like, fuck, this is kind of a weird time that we're allowing so many people to come into the country. And we know, even if it's just 1% of the 8 million that has been identified coming into this country illegally, 1% is a fucking massive number. And so I would want you to understand, do I feel scared? No. I feel I need to be more prepared. And I think you should too. I feel like now more than ever, we're gonna reap the repercussions of this in the next 5 years or so, if not sooner. I think things are gonna change significantly. Whoever gets in office, I think whoever it is, I don't know if Biden's gonna win. I don't know. I don't even want to make a prediction of that. I think it's going to be one of the biggest topics that we have to face in our lifetime. That's getting to a point where it is really fucking starting to affect America. I have no problems with legal immigration. I think we should be taking in people who want to invest into this country. I actually love the immigrant mentality that comes here and loves this country and supports this country and wants to invest back into this country. I love that mindset because I think that's what we need. We currently have Americans in our own country that really don't like America, right? And they want to talk against America, which I think is funny to sit on a position of privilege and make those comments. And as well as it is what's hurting the cultural identity of our country, which is very scary. We kind of have to make sure that we always protect what America stands for, and not the ignorant ideologies of like the flag is racist. That's just someone's weird thoughts. But what the flag actually represents, in my head, or at least I believe, it represents freedom for all, and that's for everyone, right? And so I do believe in this country still, and I do believe one of the most important career fields currently right now that is trying to uphold that same standard is the Border Patrol. And I found it very unfair for the media to kind of give the negative portrayal of the Border Patrol, and for so many to jump on board with that and to assume they know and to take fucking headlines and run with them as facts is very ignorant, and it's sad. It's sad that we have people in this country who really only see the surface level of things and don't really dig into the topics and learn more and put themselves boots on ground into the topic before they make any kind of assumption or gesture online. You look stupid. and you look ignorant. And I'm sorry. It's just the truth. And that's with every topic. If you sit there and just regurgitate news headlines as facts, you should go to the experts in the field and learn from them and see what they're saying. And then you should take it upon yourself to dig deeper if you choose to try and be a voice online, or else you're just continuing to hurt the conversation and perpetuate bullshit narratives. And I can't stand that. So that's why I wrote the fucking book. So you guys go read the book, man. It's not political. It is just as objective as I could be about the Border Patrol career field and what is done daily. The Border Patrol saves more lives and stops more drugs than any other organization in our nation. Facts. That is all. Facts. Okay? The Border Patrol is the biggest humanitarian mission that happens daily. The thought of like, oh, these border patrols are destroying these caches. That's a very questionable position to stand on if you create caches for illegal immigration. Okay? Oh, we want them to save lives. Well, really, we should be addressing who's manipulating them to come across illegally. And I know they're trying to circumvent the system, so the fear is that some of these caches are actually poisoned by other people who don't want them to. So there's dangers in both sides of the argument here. And so I know them all, and I know people want to try and challenge me on this, but a lot of these people have angers towards the immigration side of things, but they're not understanding the full depth of what it is. If you want to be angry with anyone when it comes to immigration, anyone, it's the high up, right? It's going to be who creates policy, and it's going to be the down low, the cartel or human trafficking organizations. Because both of those are what's causing the massive influx of drugs, of death, of rape, of trafficking, kids, human trafficking. And then the other side, who's continuing to allow this open policy that really affects America deeply. Yeah, so that's my fucking TED Talk for the day, motherfuckers. Hey, go buy the book. New York Times bestselling author or not, I don't give a fuck. I wrote something that has meaning and purpose, and I hope you guys read it because it's important for you to understand what's going on. And once this one's done and all the hype, I got another one coming for your ass. It's more serious.